everybody. Welcome to another episode of Trek in the Valley, the non-encyclopedic Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch and recap podcast, where every week a couple of guys in California discuss an episode of Star Trek from asshole to nose, from nose to asshole, or whatever they say. I'm Adam Ordall-Quinnell, and I'm here as always with my partner in grime.
Hey everybody, it's Al Hurt here. What's up?
What is up indeed, Mr. Al Hurt? It's been a while, huh? It's been like a half hour. It's been like not to peel the curtain back. So every once in a while I see Michelle walk in the background. And it reminds me of, in Signs when they're at the birthday party and the alien walks in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't see her at all. It's just bright light. And then
light,
a shadow walks across.
It's so sunny over here. It's a lot nicer than my last pad.
Yeah, I actually block out all the sun in here. I have the massive skeleton wall hanging up over the window just for that reason, so that I can have a little bit more control over my environment.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make sure that we don't shoot the same shit about the shit that we shat about last time.
Oh, just trying to predict the future here.
Oh, really? What do you think's going to happen? Do you think we're going to get killed by an authoritarian regime?
Hope not. Not quite yet.
Yeah, my buddy Andrew, who I host the other podcast with, lives in Minneapolis, as I've said, and it's pretty fucked up, I guess. And, we're against that. We're against ICE here at Al isn't a white guy. I'm sensitive to the plight of people who are getting fucking arrested off the street and murdered and such.
Yeah, seriously.
So it reminds me of the Bell riots. What is this?
Hey, yeah, there we go.
What is this? The Bell? What is this? The Bell riots? Oh my God. Something we can talk about. The new episode of Starfleet Academy.
Oh yeah.
Is a Deep Space Nine based episode.
Huh.
One of the characters is researching Benjamin Sisko, or as they call him, the Sisko. And it's pretty great. And the guy who plays Benjamin Sisko's kid, Jake, is in it as an adult.
Nice.
And it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously he's a hologram because he's been dead for 1,000 years, because this Starfleet Academy takes place 1,000 years in the future from the Star Trek that we're talking about now.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a time jump in Discovery, and this takes place in the Discovery timeline. Have you watched any of that stuff yet?
No, not yet.
So you have finished. So you've watched. We watched the original series. You've seen Next Generation in the past. We're watching it now. You've watched all of Deep Space Nine, correct?
Yeah.
And then you've watched all of Voyager now?
Yeah.
Are you done with Enterprise yet?
No.
Oh my God, you gotta finish Enterprise so that we can talk about the worst finale in the history of science fiction television.
That's why I don't want to watch it.
It's what people. It's the fucking because I think that the Seinfeld finale was good. A lot of people complain about the Seinfeld finale being like one of the great bad finales of all time, but I thought it was actually pretty interesting and cool. But I do think that the finale for Star Trek Enterprise is my Seinfeld finale. Like the way that everybody else felt about the Seinfeld finale and how terrible it was, that's how I feel about let's just say this. Just pretend, Al, that the penultimate episode is the finale.
Okay.
Without spoiling anything for you, just go into that second. When you see you're on the second to last episode of that last season, you just get your dick hard to watch the finale. You're like, I'm watching the finale.
Have you seen the end of Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
It's just like, we didn't need another season, right? I don't know. The ending of that one was just so perfect.
Everything after the time jump.
Right.
So like, I don't think we needed any of that. And now going back and thinking about Parks and Recreation, like as like an ultra radicalized leftist, I'm like, oh my God, I watched so much content, so many hours of stuff about this liberal lady who worships Joe Biden, who I view as like one of the great villains of my political adulthood. It's just very strange how Obama era stuff has aged.
Yeah. Definitely. But I was just like, I get what you're saying, about that, where it's like, it feels like the show and the creators are, oh, this is a nice ending. And then the producers or the studio execs are like, no, we need more money. And then they gotta like begrudgingly make another finale. It feels weird.
Well, dude, you're not even just you're it's fucking bonkers. And not only that, no spoilers, I take issue with how some of it ended anyway. Like even taking into account that the penultimate episode kind of wraps up the story as best as it's going to get wrapped up, it's like, what the fuck? I still had a lot of stuff that I didn't really like. And I do think that overall Enterprise should not be viewed as like the franchise killer I think it was viewed as at the time.
I think it was just, they were just stuck. People were just kind of over Star Trek, right? Weren't they just like overloaded? Which ironically now is like, there's so many shows.
Was that
same with Star Wars too? It's like,
did Enterprise overlap with the J.J. Abrams? How much time was Star Trek Enterprise? I'm checking to see how much time there was between.
It was gaining so much hype just because it was, we haven't seen Star Trek anything in a long time.
Yeah. So this Enterprise, the Enterprise finale aired like fucking 2005, and the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek was 2009. So there's 4 years, which isn't too long.
I didn't think that was... I thought it was longer.
I do think that Scott Bakula... I do think that Captain Archer is like one of the lesser captains. And
I don't know. It helps it works with his hand, right? Because it's like he's the first, or he's the one that's just like, oh, this is all new to me. I'm just trying all this shit. And the fact that he disrupts so many alien races and cultures like so quickly.
The thing is, you gotta question the responsibility of a guy who would bring his dog on a deep space mission like that. Like I couldn't watch that fucking show without every time the ship is like on red alert or shit's going crazy, I'd be like, where's Porthos? Like, did somebody put Porthos in his carrier? Did Porthos go in his kennel? Is Porthos... What the fuck is going on? Like, where's Porthos right now?
Trips an engineer and they just blow up the engine.
Dude, it's so fucking
Porthos
ridiculous.
Just gets like stuck in Jeffrey's tube.
Yes. Oh my God, dude. Episode. Anywho, well, good catching up about that.
It is pretty reckless. I feel like it's a little, he's into himself too. And the water polo stuff, I really can't get over.
Instead of whatever game they play on the holodeck all the time, in our timeline of Start in Next Generation, it's water polo. Mm-hmm. I just think that when you see a guy that not to just belabor this point about
really
Archer,
charismatic though. You're right, compared to the captain.
Yes, everybody's got a fucking character, and he's like white bread there. And I guess that's part of it. They're trying to show that he's like that kind of captain, like a submarine captain from the fucking, mm-hmm. like a kind of quasi-military adventure more so than others.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do think that, not to belabor the point about him bringing his dog on a deep space mission and how fucking irresponsible that is, but it does kind of show you that he wasn't really taking the danger all that seriously. Like he clearly didn't think that it was going to be all that dangerous. If my volume just went up a little bit, audience, sorry, but I updated something.
But what's funny too that you mentioned that is that a lot of the first episodes is his crewmen like losing their minds and freaking out just from being in space and stuff. And everybody's like, calm down, you're fine, like suck it up. It's like, no, this is technically never happened in the human experience before. So like,
this shit is fucked, bro.
You can't like go back to Earth and relate to somebody about this.
That alien is blue and he's got little squiddle-oodles on his head, all right? And he's fucking rude to me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
I love that guy. He's played by Jeffrey Combs, who's in all the Star Treks. God damn, he's fucking... That guy rips. He's also in the film Reanimator. If you haven't seen Reanimator, you have to see Reanimator. It's a early disgusting sci-fi mad scientist movie from the 80s. I can't remember who directed it. I wanted to be like, David Cronenberg directed Reanimator, but no fucking way. So Al... I think that you now know what time it is since we've caught up. And now I just got stuck on my phone. Stuart Gordon directed Reanimator. Okay, so I can scratch that off my head, scratch that off my list of things, tickling my brain. I'll look up Stuart Gordon and see what else he made later, which brings us to the first segment of the show. What does Al remember? Al, what do you remember about the episode, Season 2, Episode 6 of Star Trek, the original series, TOS, Those Old Scientists, Season 2, Episode 6, The Doomsday Machine? What do you remember about the Doomsday Machine?
Gosh. Was this the one where they were killing each other through Battleship?
No. It wasn't them playing Battleship.
Was it a ticking time bomb deal?
No. It was, let's just say, I'll give you a hint. It involves, we've talked about it recently in a previous What Does Al Remember or a previous discussion. Mm-hmm. It involves, they stumble upon a Commodore that his whole crew is dead and he's alone on his ship and he's fucking crazy with PTSD and shit. Commodore Decker.
He has PTSD. Now, because he Doomsday Machine, did he, because he transported them to a planet?
Yeah, and what happened to that planet, Al?
It got consumed. Why did
there you go.
By the worm?
Why? By the worm, Al.
That's the worm episode?
You're getting there. The Doomsday Machine is indeed the worm episode, bro. So what happened in said worm episode?
Decker sacrifices himself, right? And blows the worm from the inside?
No, he dies.
He dies
trying to... He dies just shooting at the outer shell of the thing like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And that's when they go, well, Decker, at least we're not going to let him die in vain. He showed us that we can't attack it from the outside. We got to go right into its fucking guts. So the Enterprise goes inside the fucking thing. Yeah. So what else do you remember about that?
No, just the despair that Captain Decker had and the trauma, and like he just felt the weight of all those souls that he just murdered constantly. Because like his logic was that, okay, I'll put my crew on the planet and the worm will eat the ship, but then
I'll go fight the worm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the worm eats the planet, and I feel like we
were both kind of like,
he should have known that the worm eats the planet. Didn't you just watch the worm eat a planet, or did the worm just pop out of nowhere? Maybe they're the first ones to see the worm.
Maybe do a little inspection before just going gung-ho and abandoning ship.
I remember that episode being an HD remastered feast for the eyes, like the skin on the worm when they fly into its mouth and it looks like a big red space anus. All of the effects are great. When they actually fly inside the thing, it looks cool. Because they do fly inside it, right?
Yeah, was that the animated series too? Where like there was a big blob that was like destroying galaxies and shit and planets, and Spock was like, turn around and go back.
I don't think they actually. How do they destroy it? I don't think they go inside the worm. Oh, maybe they put a shuttle. Oh, that's what it is.
They put a bomb on a shuttle and they throw it in its mouth.
I think so. Yeah, the Doomsday Machine.
Because they go inside another, planet-eating, star-eating thing. And then, Spock connects to it with his mind. That's in the animated series.
So Lieutenant Sulu, so they send a shuttlecraft in that explodes, and it reduced the planet killer's power output by a small amount. That was Commodore blowing up Decker, and then Kirk comes up with a plan to explode Constellation inside the planet killer. Because remember, they've been towing the Constellation this whole time.
Yeah,
they've been towing Decker's derelict ship, right? And there's some very cool shots of like the destroyed Constellation. And that's what I'd forgotten about. So they rig the Constellation to explode, and Spock and Kirk insists on piloting the damaged ship himself. So basically, he's left there for the 30 seconds before it explodes. And at the last second, Kirk is beamed aboard the Enterprise, and then they destroy the planet killer. Yeah.
Kirk is the one navigating the ship into the mouth, right?
Yes,
right
and it's like staring right down the barrel of the big thing. I can't believe I thought they went inside of it. That was
another one. Yeah.
That was the animated series episode where they like that you just mentioned, where they fly into the plant ship, and so now
Spock is like, just turn around, and the thing's like, oh, okay.
Hey, what up? And good job remembering a little bit about that episode, Al. This segment isn't about, it's not a competition. It's not about what you remember. It's just like, hey, let's have an avenue to talk about some of that old shit. Maybe the people getting into the podcast, hadn't listened to us. So go back and listen to us discuss the Doomsday Machine from a couple years ago. And that closes out the segment. That's what I remember. Which brings us to our topic of conversation for today. All of my disgusting mouth sounds. I drank so much water to try and fight the disgusting swallowing sounds, and I cut them in half, I think. Man, because like I said on the previous episode, last night I stayed up editing, and oh boy, did I cut out a lot of mouth noises and a lot of swallowing, but not just from
a kill mic button or something.
Oh, I have looked at those, but I wouldn't want to press that every time I'm swallowing or whatever. But for coughing, or when we're hitting the vape or whatever, it would be nice to have the mute button. Those things are like $70 to get a little physical mute button. I would want a foot switch so that you can't hear me pressing it.
I don't know. You could just program it to MIDI or something. Who knows?
Yeah, but then it's not like you need it to be the mechanical. Like it's not responsive enough. I don't think if you're doing it,
because latency shit too.
Exactly, and I don't use my Mac is old now at this point. Remember, I bought this Mac when we first started the podcast, and that was 3 or so years ago at this point.
Dude, tech moves fast.
Today. And I fucking missed there was one day where I could have traded it in for $750 towards the purchase of a new MacBook, to upgrade. And I waited and didn't do it. And a month later, that cut in half because they did release the new generation. And I was like, oh, fuck it. I'm fucked now. I'll just use this until it grinds to a halt and then have somebody build me a Windows machine, probably. All that shit aside, this is episode 151 of our podcast. Probably more like the actual 150. Hey, congratulations. Yes. We're halfway through another 100. And this week we're discussing the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 5, Loud as a Whisper. And it was written by Jacqueline Zambrano, written by a lady. And honestly, in a non-derogatory way, I think that shows. I think that there's very much in a good way, there's a woman's touch to this script.
Yeah,
it's more emotionally driven, and I'm not saying that to be reductive, but it's definitely
Okana just having sex with all the crew.
Yeah, hey ladies, what's up?
Yeah, right.
And I mean,
awesome.
He was pretty handsome. And so it was directed by Larry Shaw, and this episode aired on January 9th, 1989. Hey, Happy New Year, Star Trek The Next Generation. You made it. You made it to another year. And the synopsis from our scribe over there at Paramount Plus is: the future of a warring planet depends on a deaf mediator who suddenly loses his ability to communicate.
Dang.
That sounds very cool. That all sounds very cool. And it opens with the ship being diverted to bring a mediator to help with an interplanetary conflict. So this time, they're not bringing a vial of juice for a virus. They're not bringing bacteria that'll make the bread last forever at a planet, so they never run out of bread or whatever the fuck. They're bringing a mediator to help with an interplanetary conflict. And Riker and the crew are on the bridge. They're basically, we get the captain's log or the first officer's log. I can't remember which. Brings us up to speed. Riker goes into Picard's office, and Picard is fucking with a model of the last solar system that they visited. And he's like, I think I figured out what. Like I'm trying to figure out what happened with this the what do they call it? The fucking what do they fucking call it, dude? The orbit. Yeah, the orbit around the sun. Yeah. They're talking about the orbit, and he's just like, I gotta figure out this planet. How did it do this? And this is such a great little bit because the remastered effect that he's looking at, the holographic effect, is very cool. But also, it reminds us that Picard is a huge science dork. And so is Riker. Like, Riker's like, oh, but wouldn't that account for the mass? And Riker's like scratching his little beardy chin, like, oh, what the fuck? And so these guys, even though they sometimes have to fight, even though they sometimes have to love, ultimately they are fucking nerds in space. And I thought that was great. And then
it's something that has like nothing to do with what they're currently doing.
Exactly.
It's just like him he phrases it, Picard phrases it as like, undoing the last knot, Yep.
It's a mystery for a later time.
Because it's just bugging him.
And Riker says, we've arrived at Ramada's 3. And I love this beat where Picard is like, oh, shit, gotta go. Like, he's like, oh, shit. Yeah. I got lost in looking at this 3D model of the last solar system that we were at. And there's a great sequence between... so Picard just runs down to the bridge. And then they are only on the bridge for a minute. Riker is like, we're going to go leading. The away team then. Oh, my God, I'm losing my fucking mind. The away team is getting assembled. And Riker and Picard are heading down to the transporter room. And Riker's not stoked about Picard going on the away team. And Picard is like, this isn't really an away team. It's just a diplomatic thing. And we don't even have any power. It's going to be, there's a mediator that is going to be doing all the work, so don't fucking worry about it. And Picard accuses Riker of clucking at him like he's a mother hen. He's like, cluck, cluck, cluck. And Riker goes, excuse me? And he goes, you're acting like a mother hen, Riker.
Well, it's an interesting juxtaposition, too, because it was like you were saying at the beginning where it's like they're not doing a humanitarian mission, or they're not like helping out scientifically with, some land formations or something on some other planet. And Riker just kind of comes off as like, what exactly are we going to do on that planet, sir? Like, why are you going alone? He's like, I'm not going alone. I got Worf. I got Troi. Like, this is purely diplomatic. Like,
and this is just
weapons and stuff.
This is just them picking up the mediator, too. Mm-hmm. This is like Riker. I just realized now Riker's being weird about Picard beaming down just to like meet this guy.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a trope and a big responsibility of the first officer to make sure the captain's fine, right? But
Riker,
also,
as we know from the pilot, Riker takes that very seriously.
No, but the point that I really wanted to bring up that was interesting was that Picard's like, we're just going to be, overseeing these negotiations and this event, and make sure nothing gets out of hand and do everything in our power to support them. And Riker's like, I mean, our goal isn't to like police the galaxy, is it? And Picard's like,
no.
nonsense. I mean, come on, we're not even going to bring any
He
weapons.
actually
like,
says,
that's kind of weird.
Picard says, isn't that my speech, number one?
Yeah. He's like, come on. I mean, you know where we're coming from. And I'm always science first, right? Because just as we saw even in his private quarters, you can just see Picard doing some science stuff, figuring it out, you know?
Yeah.
It's already established that he has that love.
That's what drove him to explore the galaxy in the first place, more than likely. Now, they get to the transporter room. Worf is there. Like you said, it's Worf, Troi, Riker's not going with. They're going to beam down. Now, I love how Troi kind of blows Worf's spot up here. Like, just out of nowhere, she says, Worf, I've never sensed these emotions from you. You're so confused or worked up, like you're expecting battle. And if I was Worf, I'd just be like, shut up. Don't fucking tell people what I'm feeling. I'm trying to hide my feelings right now. Can't you tell? And then basically Worf says he's kind of got a problem with this Riva guy that they're going to get, the negotiator, because Riva negotiated treaties between the Klingons and the Federation, and he goes, there was no Klingon word for peacemaker before him, and it's just like, oh, so you don't like him because he ended wars and you have war in your blood? Come on, Worf, you're better than that. You're in the fucking Federation now, dog. Chill out, chillax.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's really I don't know. It'd feel interesting if Worf was interested in meeting him. You know, Worf's usually always just angry and like pessimistic. I feel like that
guarded.
Fits the mold.
Yeah, and he's a security officer, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know, that's his fucking job.
For him to be worried.
He's like the British guy in Enterprise that we were talking about. Now, Al, what happens? So Worf, Troi, and Picard beam down, and what do they find?
Well, it's kind of like this weird dentist office kind of vibe.
Yes, it's like an ancient weird dentist office. There's like a very tribal looking sculpture. There's like a very centered tribal looking sculpture when they land. They're very like ceremonial looking shit everywhere. Yeah, and then there's just
you can
crazy.
See Worf like looking around expecting a fight or something too, but they all just kind of walk around and wander.
What a foyer.
All this weird, uneasy music plays, and then the intro starts.
What a mudroom. What an entryway. You know, what a fucking grand... They show that stained glass in the background behind that stage. Mm-hmm. Also, this guy has a stage in his house specifically for moments like this when he has to meet people and introduce them to his little retinue that he has.
Yeah.
So then... After the credits play, Riva comes out to meet Worf, Picard, and Troi. And Riva, how would you describe this guy, Al?
He's charming, tall. He's got like I don't know, a nice even beard and a stash.
So
he looks like
beard
a writer
is 100.
Of Rohan.
That he does look like a writer of Rohan. Here's what I think. He in this first scene he comes out looking very severe. He's wearing a gray robe. He's a ginger, so obviously my hackles are I'm suspect already. He's got red hair, red beard, but that beard 100% fake. Like there's no fucking way. That's like, maybe I'm wrong, but we've come back to this. We've his wig we've come back to this so many times with these HD remasters, right? Because the one thing that suffers from like a 4K or an HD remaster is wigs and hair pieces and fake beards. It fucking amplifies how fake they look. Mm-hmm. And it can even sometimes make an actor's actual beard look fake, which might be what's fucking happening now. I don't know. I don't research this stuff. I don't look stuff up. That's not this kind of podcast.
No, but what's great is, Picard's right about to talk and Riva puts his hands up and 3 people come up. And they're kind of like, I don't know, mediators for the mediator.
Who are these motherfuckers? Well, this is great because he calls them his chorus, which is it harkens back to the Greek chorus of like those original Greek theater where the chorus would like explain to the audience what's happening basically. Mm-hmm. And we find out that the royal line of Riva's people, right? They can't hear. They don't have the genetics. They can't process sound. And I guess they say deaf in the synopsis, but I didn't look up like what's correct to say anymore. I didn't watch that
they
Apple.
say it in the show either, do they?
I don't know what they say
just,
exactly,
phrase it
but
as, like, a different
can't
way
hear
of
shit.
Communicating.
Yeah, they can't hear shit. So I thought that in this that they were saying that Riva had been alive for centuries, but no, it's been passed down in his family. So basically, for the last hundreds of years, Riva, his family, has been evolving to have like a telepathic link to the families of these other three people. And each one of these members of his chorus represents like a different part of his personality or a different role.
And they're basically like translators to like different parts of his brain.
Yes, they translate his thoughts and desires into speech. And there's like an artist, a passion one. There's an artist, passion, logical guy. There's a logical guy. And then there's an artist, passion, warrior guy who's the libido. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. And then the lady is harmony, balance, and wisdom that holds them all together. And at one point, Picard starts to talk to the chorus, and Riva's like, "You will address me. Look at me, motherfucker." And Picard's like, "Hey, we didn't know. No offense is meant." And he goes, "Then no offense was taken." This Riva guy is a fucking mediator, dude. Like, you can tell his whole deal is fucking... And it's interesting that somebody who himself can't speak... his whole deal is words, you know?
Yeah, and it's cool. Sorry, finish that thought.
No, go for it. Go for it.
And I think it comes off to like what you were saying, where it's like, just because he is deaf doesn't mean it is a disability. Like, he's coming around with this bravado of like, hey, I'm better than you because I've done all these things and I don't even need to talk. I have these three people who
he's very confident
what I do.
He's very confident in his abilities. That's certainly one of his traits. And he even learns that that's bad later.
For sure.
He basically, the libido part only speaks when the spirit moves him, he says. And that's what's talking to Troi. And I just think it's funny that Riker's already not stoked about all this, and now he's going to have more competition for Troi. But he doesn't react in any way like that in this episode. Even though this guy's all over Troi, Riker is totally like, their relationship is so whatever the story demands. Like, when she's getting married to that guy, it's the biggest fucking deal in the world. But maybe they just have an open relationship and like the marriage would be too much. But she can date other aliens that come onto the ship.
And then in this episode, it's funny because Troi has more chemistry with Riva than she does with the guy that she was supposed to marry.
Yeah, she did.
Bat an eye at that.
Because Riva is very interested in her because she's a lady and she's hot, but also she's got telepathy like he uses to communicate with them. And then we get to Act 2 where we get a Baby O'Brien over the comm saying they're back. Or they're ready to beam them down to the negotiating zone or come back from... Oh, so they're beaming them up from the planet where they picked up the negotiator. Now, one question that I had is, if this guy's like the most famous negotiator ever, and he negotiated for the Klingon and the Federation, right? How are they surprised that he has this chorus and that he can't hear? Like, how is that not general knowledge? Like, they would have had to have gone through this many times ago when they first started using him as a mediator. Because he's such a great mediator, he was requested. So that's what's cool about this, right?
Yeah.
You got to assume that these warring people on this planet, they want things to work out. Both sides agreed, only this guy Riva can fucking help us, right? And so how did nobody fucking know that he couldn't hear? That's ridiculous.
Well, it's also with all the information that they have too, and that the fact that everybody knows about the Enterprise and Kirk's past adventures and all that. And they have like TV video recordings of
everything
missions.
That's ever happened. Yes.
Yeah.
Now we get this, there's a trope in TNG and I guess in all of Star Trek where the visiting alien has to meet the bridge crew or whatever. And then you kind of see they give you a kind of a view into what that character is all about by how that visiting alien interacts with the crew and what the crew's got going on, right? Like, he calls Data unique and Data smiles. Riva's really curious about Geordi's visor. He's like, would you change it if you could? And he's like, I don't think I would. I don't know. And he goes, your visor serves the same function as my chorus. It turns the world into something that you can process. And he asks if he resents the visor or being unsighted. And he says, nah, it's just like who I am, man. What the fuck?
It's part of
We're
like
cool.
who I am, and it helps.
And then Pulaski, of course, fucking comes in later being a dick about all that stuff. And then I realized that
weird side plot.
this episode, I texted you at this point. I said, this episode is super woke about disabled people or differently abled people. Like, it's fucking, there's central to the plot because, you know, spoiler alert, he loses his chorus at some point and it's a huge deal. And it makes it seem like he's helpless, but that's not how.
The show so much better, you know?
Yes,
if
the
it was
wokeness.
Just the original series, it would probably just been him with his chorus the whole time, and it would have been like, "Whoa, look how wacky this is."
So they do the. Let's see. Is this where they're in the? Is this where they're in the conference room already, or no? This is on the bridge. Okay. So basically, the logic and harmony chorus are like, we aren't needed once the libido takes over, and the libido is like, hey, Troi, can you escort Riva to my quarters? And it's like, oh, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
Riker
Riker's
doesn't
like,
know.
Nah, I don't like Riva. Riva's what I expected.
Riker doesn't really respond in that way, which I was so surprised about, right? Because he doesn't know that guy's the libido. He didn't have the initial explanation. He'd probably think of something. He'd have a different thing to say about it, maybe. And I love how the two that are left behind are just like, yeah, once that guy takes over, we're not really needed. So do you have quarters for us? Yeah. We'll show you the way. And so Troi shows him to his quarters. And then he asks her out for dinner after his meeting with the captain. They're just flirting like fucking crazy, man. You cut that flirting with a knife. She asks if the libido will always be with them, and he says, until we find our own method of communication, and they both look forward to that, and that method of communication is implied to be fucking. I think that's what they're talking about. Like, once we have our own language, we won't need libido guy around anymore. So she says, so basically he says, hey, after the staff meeting that we got to go to, let's hook up and see what happens. And then Al, tell me a little bit about this senior staff meeting, because I know you love when they get around a table on this show. It's your favorite thing.
Yeah, it is, because they really just, address everything that's going to happen right now. No, they're basically arguing about what the conflict is about and whether it's like over a piece of land or something tangible. They
start to explain it.
Figure it out, I guess. It's been personal. The beef has gone beyond just things. So he's trying to, Riva's trying to basically give them a rundown of like how they would process this negotiation and how to like relate to both sides.
So the purpose of this meeting is just for him to get like Picard and the crew. They think, oh, we've done all this research on this fucking conflict. We're going to give that information to Rivas to inform his negotiations.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a
he
team
dismisses all of that.
It's like a team catching up a consultant or something on like a meeting, But
he says, I don't need to know any of that stuff. Ultimately, the argument's going to come down to, like you said, some piece of land or wealth or some other such bullshit. But we know that it's personal because they've been fighting for so long. And he actually like sets it up so that Riker's like, but it's personal because they've been fighting for so long. Like this Riva guy is really good at like letting people come to their own conclusions and making it feel like they thought of something that he led them to. And that's part of his, like, they really show him being a good negotiator or why he's good at his job. And I love that the logic chorus member is the one talking this whole time in harmony, because they really stuck to who's talking when, in the script. They like, depending on what the circumstance was, which voice would be heard. And they've been at war for centuries, and Riva's like, what's changed? We got to figure out why they want to talk about peace now. And Riker says, maybe they've run out of people to kill. And which should make Rivas' job possible.
Yeah, and, but Riva just comes off as like, not arrogant, but like really self-assured. And he's like,
yes.
You know what? Don't worry about it. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll talk to both sides, and I'll eventually get down to the nitty gritty. Just you guys need to take me there.
He says, he says, the important thing is, to date, I have never failed. Yeah. And it would have to be a very dramatic thing to happen for me to ever fucking question myself.
Really bad would have to happen in order for this to not work out.
After this 5-minute meeting that they probably thought was going to be hours of them discussing this conflict, he's like, anyway, I think we're good here. I'll figure it out. I've got a date with an empath. And Riker, after they leave, he goes, our mediator sure is self-assured. We'll know soon enough if he can deliver.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because, like, Riva and 2 of the translators already left. And then the Harmony person's like, we'll see you later.
The libido person. Libido.
No, it was the Harmony lady.
Oh, because she knows that. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yes.
She stayed behind, and she's just like, "Hey, we'll be back," or not, "We'll be back," but bye.
We're not gonna have anything to do there. We don't need to go to dinner. We don't need to go to dinner.
No, and like, no. She says bye to like the crew, because like Riva doesn't even say bye. Like when he just walks out. He just leaves.
Yes.
And
yes.
Like, and I guess meeting's adjourned.
She's Harmony, so she's got to kind of clean things up afterwards. Yeah, sorry that I spaced out and totally missed all of that.
No, you're good.
There's a great beat where
in this episode.
There's a great beat where Picard says, "I guess the meeting is adjourned."
Right.
Now, back on the bridge. We go, back on the bridge. Wesley's like, we're pulling up on Soleus 5. That's the planet where these people are fighting. Mm-hmm. They slow to 1/2 impulse. And then we cut to a very romantically lit dining area where Troi is sitting across from Riva and Libido's in the background.
Just talking.
Talking in the dark. Mm-hmm. And she goes, hey, maybe we can figure out how to communicate without him. And so Libido takes off. Now, Riva does some primitive sign language. Now, this is where I kind of lose track of things because sign language did exist, and we find out later that Data learns the sign language so that he can translate. Mm-hmm. So why are they acting like it's so strange that he would be able to communicate without his voice? Like it's a thing that people who can't hear are able to do. That
right.
they
have to.
Yeah, I don't.
Otherwise, you're just
like, don't they just have sign language? Like, can't she be like, can't just tell me in sign language? Or, like, why do they don't even use the word sign language
I think it's
until
just
later?
Because there's been so much advance in technology and the future and all that shit. People don't really think, I don't know. It's kind of like, why even have those 3 mediators or 3 translators if you can just sign language everything?
Right.
It just seems like they're doing more. They're using more tools than they need to. You know how like people make things more complicated than it needs to be, right?
I joked about this episode being very woke about disabilities, but it's also kind of ableist because as soon as he loses his voices, even though he was just confidently communicating with Troi with his hands, when they die, he's like inconsolable. And I get it, there's friends and all that, but like they're like he'll how will he communicate now? It's like, well, he'll use fucking sign language. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of seems like a fit of panic. I guess it's to show us, the audience, that it's like, oh, he really doesn't have a control of any of the situation without his course, It's been bred
into his fucking life over hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's been like an entire lineage,
So they both say that being there is special, and back on the bridge, Worf is saying there's intense laser activity on the planet, which means they've broken the ceasefire that was very tenuous. Mm-hmm. This is when Picard tries to communicate with the people on the planet, and it's like breaking up, and both sides are coming in.
They're asking for Riva already too.
They're like, "Where's Riva? We don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to Riva." And then he goes, "The ceasefire's been broken. I'm sure I can resolve that." Riva shows up, And he immediately plays to he says, "You are brave fighters. Now you must be courageous enough to cease hostilities and allow us to meet." Like playing on their bravado and their macho-ness. Like only the toughest man would be able to not kill each other for long enough. And then the laser fire ceases.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because every step of the way too, Riker's just like, I don't know, these people don't want to, it seems like these people don't want to talk. I feel like something bad's going to happen.
Right. And they talk about how Riva tells them, "You're not going to need your weapons when we go down there." Riva also says it's a big deal to pick the right place for the meeting. And so they find a spot where they can all meet.
They always have to push security, on these guests. I feel like everybody's just like, I'll be fine.
And Riva tells Riker, "You're not going to need your phasers." And Riker's like, "Yeah, I'm sure I won't, but I'm bringing with anyway, you dumb hippie."
He's like, good, I'll bring it just in case. Who cares?
I love how specific. Exactly. Better to have it and not need it. I like that Riva is so specific about the negotiation setup. He's like, we need torches here, and they need to be this tall, and we need a table. And then Riva tells Riker, the first few minutes will be tense. Do not respond, even if provoked, which should be easy for Worf, right? Like, he's great at not responding. Now, the two factions of bulgy-faced aliens show up, and one of the locals is like, "No, we'll never be at peace." And he pulls out a gun and he just vaporizes the chorus. Because Riker,
it's like really morbid because he's pointing it towards Riva, this alien guy. And Riker, he grabs Riva and he's like, "No, get out of the way."
Knocks him out of the way.
And
they get vaporized. They turn into skeletons. Dude, the special effect is very cool.
It's brutal though compared to other shows, because it's like on the original series they would just like fade in Technicolor and just like
they would just disappear. Yes,
yeah. But like this, you see the details, you see like everything break down, and then it's like there's skeletons and stuff. I don't know. I feel
love
like
that.
Those kind of deaths. It's like. It's funny because on TV and media, they try to censor it all the time, from just like straight up gun violence. But it's like by trying to censor that, they create something a little more nightmarish. Like,
I love it.
A really good example is like, obviously here, this is like a great example, because this is quote unquote like a show for family, kids could watch it and stuff. But it's like this person just like died. These three people just
watched
died,
it,
and it's
I just watched it and like paused it during that scene, and when they turn into red skeletons covered in blood, it's so fucking cool.
It reminds me too of the Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah,
when the Goblin just throws the bomb and it just like dissolves all of the board members.
It's just like that.
It's just like it's like silly enough, but then it's like, wow, that's actually really creepy and cursed if you actually saw that in person.
Right? That you would definitely be traumatized forever. And these people see this shit all the time. Hell ship the next generation. Now, one thing we can't leave that scene without saying is the guy, the rebel shoots the chorus, and then he immediately gets shot by the guy that brought him there. Yeah. And after everybody beams away, the dude that brought him there is like, "No, Rivas, we need you. He doesn't represent us." And then you're like, whoa, shit just got fucking complicated, bro.
No, and it's cool too how it's like that effect again with like them just taking a screenshot of the frame and then just redesigning each layer and all that.
Yeah, dude. So we get back up to the ship. We gotta kind of clip along here. So we get back up to the ship, and Riva is freaking the fuck out. He's incredibly worked up. He just can't communicate with them. And then Picard grabs his head, and he's like, "You are not alone. We will figure this out."
Yeah,
and
I read on Reddit or somewhere, it was, I guess they wanted Riva to try speaking and stuff, but then the actor for Riva was like, "No, that's an awful idea. Like,
I am not
idea.
That is like, ableist central."
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not the point of the episode. It's like, I want to show that you can still speak with sign language, like which goes to what you said.
Exactly what we were talking about.
Very,
yeah,
it's very progressive. It's very open-minded, in that sense. Same with Geordi's visor too. It's like if the writers had enough insight to already write that about the visor. I just found it very interesting that they were like, Riva should try to talk. It's like, I can't believe they tried to like argue for that, you know?
And that's why it works. That's why so many people are involved in making TV shows.
Yeah, seriously. You need other ideas.
At the end of that scene, Picard tasks Data with learning. He's like, "Don't you find out a bunch of find out what gestural language he's using? Sign language, motherfucker."
Too, honestly, it's kind of like him dealing with kids. He like constantly like yells at Riva from now on. He's like, "We're gonna help you get a translator."
Well, the Riva's reading his lips, and so I don't know if that helps or hurts it. I don't know, but so. We get this great sequence of Data, Worf and Riker talking to Data about learning sign language. And this is where he watches all of and one of them looks like the penis in the hole that you make with your hands, like when they start going really fast. So he watches all this really fast sign language happen to learn it. And then Troi says that Riva's not doing well. And Pulaski says, I can't do anything to help him hear, which he wouldn't want anyway. It's like, you know how a lot of people who can't hear, they don't want the cochlear implant. Mm-hmm. That's what and that's like the kind of the Geordi thing too, when she later talks about how she can cook him up some fucking new eyes, which is disgusting.
Well, it's like, I have something personal with that too, where it's like one of my friends, he has, he's missing an arm, and that's like how he was born. And it's like, when I first hung out with him, and he hears a question all the time where it's like, oh, what do you want to have a prosthetic, or what do you want to have like those digital prosthetics so you get Wi-Fi and then all this shit and all this crazy stuff? And he's like, but that's not like me. Like I'm already used to this. Like I'm already like, that's not who I am. And it's like
total person.
You know, it's like, of course Geordi doesn't want to change who he is, you know, like he's already used to it.
Well,
would it feel why? I don't know.
Plus that
and
adversity
and all that.
Plus that adversity has kind of made him who he is, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a great moment when Worf
crushing that, and it just feels weird, you know?
There's a great moment before we get to the next scene when Data is showing them the sign language. Worf is like, silent covert language that could be useful. And you know, he's like, for war. Now, I love the idea of Data watching the images rapidly. That's so great. Pulaski says it's genetic. He can't process auditory information, so no amount of prosthetic would ever help him anyway. Mm-hmm. And Picard basically says, Counselor Troi, can't you trick him into not being sad anymore? And then Data explains that he learned sign language. They go get Riva.
It's so funny, though, because Picard's like, wait, prove it. And Data like starts talking about like two people going down a beach.
He's doing sign language, and Picard's like, I get it.
Yeah.
You did it. Good job. Now, Riva explains that he feels responsible for his chorus's death because he was too arrogant. He said, we don't have any worry. We don't need security. We'll be safe. I've always gotten myself out of these jams. It's fine. And so, yes, I love how humbling this is for him. He says, in my arrogance, I thought nobody could possibly harm the great Riva. And Picard is like, it was one guy. The rest of their people might be chill. And this is when Riva explains they were more than my interpreters. They were my friends. They were also part of me. And I didn't realize how much until I fucking lost them.
It was like what you were saying, that they were like literally bred for this, and that like they've been together forever.
Yes. And their families have been together forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Riva refuses the call to help the Solari, and he asks to be taken home because he says he can't because Picard says Data can translate for you, and he says Data can't communicate my passion, my joie de vivre, and he refuses to help. Picard says that's regrettable that you're being a huge baby. And this is where we get the parallel discussion between Pulaski and Geordi, where Pulaski's basically saying, hey, you know, I could give you realistic looking human eyes that would be robot eyes, but they'd be 20% less effective than the visor. And then she says, I could maybe even grow you a pair of new eyes and put them in your head, but it's very dangerous.
Yeah, because I'd have to connect the synapse and all that myself.
Yeah. And he basically says that he'd be giving up a lot because he consumes so much data, you know, like he sees, quote unquote, as they've explained, far more than we do.
Yeah, we had a little sneak preview of that.
And Geordi says he needs to think about it. I think we know what decision he's going to make, even though he does get robot eyes in the movies in the future.
Yeah.
Now, Troi tells Reva that Troi goes, all right, we're going to bring you home, Reva. But first, I'm going to go down there and negotiate. And so she starts to ask him, like, hey, can you kind of help me figure this out? Like, how can I know you don't want to negotiate yourself, but can you teach me, give me a crash course in negotiating? And he said his techniques come down to looking for like a small common thing between two groups and then just listen to them talk about that shared shit, right? And he's like, you'll be fine. You're good with people. The real secret is turning a disadvantage into an advantage. And how does she use that against him, Al?
What, disadvantage into an advantage?
Yeah, he tells her you've got to turn, the real secret to negotiating is turning a disadvantage into an advantage. And how does Troi use that language against him?
That, like, she calls him out.
Yeah, she says, why can't you do that?
You do that? Yeah.
Turn this disadvantage.
Turn this disadvantage of you not having your course into an advantage.
Right. And then he goes, oh, that is interesting. That would give them common ground. Rivas then gives Troi a tender kiss on the cheek for helping figure it out.
I think it's just more of like they'd level with you more too, because it's like there's nobody else to look at. It's just you. I think that was like her logic behind it a little bit.
There's a lot of reasons that Rivas can make this work. And there's a great moment where he looks at Data and he says, thank you. And Data translates it to thank you. Thank me. Oh, no problem. You're welcome. And so basically, let's try this shit again. They beam down to do the negotiating. He gets the exact table that he wants. There's a great effect at 40 minutes and 30 seconds when they beam back down from the planet. There's this awesome fucking background art of the cave where they're going to negotiate. That's just fucking epic backdrop painting, like the old school fucking, original series paintings. 40 minutes and like 25 seconds. It's when they beam down to that negotiating location.
Gotcha.
And it shows them all land, 40 minutes, and I think exactly 30, this is so compelling podcasting, 40:34. 40:34. There's a great fucking shot of them getting to the negotiating place. And I like how he says he wants a table with 3 sides because there's 3 parties that are going to be negotiating.
And Riker's like, Geordi, you got all that? Because they're printing it and transporting it there, right?
Yes. Now, here's what I assumed they were going to do. I thought they were going to have Data translate for him for a little while and kind of warm things up, you know? But no, he's saying, this is the deal. I'm going to teach them sign language, and it's going to take fucking months. And in the act of teaching them sign language, I will bring them closer together and repair their cultural rift. And I think that's really fucking cool. And I do also think that Riker is like being ableist. Of course, everybody's so ableist in this episode because he's like, how's he going to be able to do anything without his interpreters? Isn't he a fucking complete invalid now? And she's like, no, he's going to teach them sign language and we're going to go from there. He's like, they know only suspicion, hatred, and fear. Even with my chorus, I could not have changed their attitudes in a day. This will take time. And so he basically says, I'm going to stay here. You guys fucking bounce. And Riker's worried about him. He says, thanks, but I've got this shit. And this time, I know that because I'm being humble, not because I'm being arrogant. And then he thanks Troi for being a sweetie. And then they beam up and they leave him standing in front of his very specific triangular table. And we get the first officer's log saying, we hope that he'll be able to broker lasting peace. He sets Wesley to send them out. And then we get a good little moment between Troi and Picard. Why don't you tell us how they wrap this up, Al?
Well, Troi and Picard.
Yeah, at the end, Troi pops into Picard's office and he's still looking at that fucking holographic representation of that solar system that had the weird riddle that he's been trying to solve.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, you wanted to see me? And he's like, look, I know that you can tell. You read us. You know what we're thinking, but I just wanted you to hear me say you're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's actually like finally like a good pat on the back, how we're both always talking about how like overpowered she is, and she really kind of like she sort of saved the day, by convincing the mediator to do his job, when other people wouldn't. And I think, I don't know, it turns more to like a highlight of Deanna Troi and how stressful and how terrible space could be, and how just like sitting down and talking and like relating and understanding these issues can help the whole crew in the long run too.
The ship counselor role is such a great fucking thing in terms of like, I never really would have thought about that in terms of like a sci-fi. You've got your crew out there,
and the way you
but the counselor is incredibly important.
And I mean, she's really underutilized in the Okana episode, right? Because she's just like, he seems like a rebel and is rambunctious.
I mean, she probably could have. Okana did a good job of like tricking her though by being very honest. He hid like what he was doing with honesty. Few things I want to talk about. Having 3 people, the chorus speak for them is like some very old school sci-fi shit that I really love. It like looks like it'd be something out of like a pulpy sci-fi novel from the 20s or 30s. That this negotiator has 3 people that speak for him. I did think it was weird that they all tiptoed around fucking saying sign language. Like what the fuck? I love the idea that Data needs to watch images to learn them instead of just plugging a cord into his head. Because at one point they do open his finger and connect his finger to something. So we know he's got USB-C, at least technology. This was great. When Riva's first is talking to the warring factions before his chorus gets killed, he tells them, I have no magic. And that's great. I'm just logically going to help you figure this shit out. It's not magic. We'll do it. I love it. It's real. It's easy. We can do this shit. And before, one second, last thing I would say, Chief O'Brien does not have a name yet. He's transporter operator.
Really?
Now go ahead. What did you think?
No, I thought this was a solid episode. It was definitely better than Okana, the last one, I think, because...
You thought so?
Yeah, definitely. I just thought it was more, I don't know, mentally, like, interesting. Yes, I like Data as a character, but I feel like it's just such a gimme of, like, what is this? You can do that with anything with Data, whereas... Deanna Troi's job's a little more like intimate, or just, it's a lot more conversational this episode rather than just like silly misunderstanding. And I don't know, I feel like it's barely about the fact that there's a war between the 2 planets. It's more about like, what can people do when they have their support system knocked out and how they deal with that. And I think that's like really strong. I guess my only gripe with this was, I don't know, I just guess the whole Geordi visor subplot was kind of weird. I guess they just need to fill the air.
Well, they wanted the B story to also be related to a differently abled kind of they wanted to draw the parallel between Riva and Geordi, which I think they did pretty good, but I've just never really... I like that Geordi never goes for the shit, because the whole thing is he's in constant pain from his visor. He gets headaches, and she's like, "Well, we might be able to take care of the headaches, but you won't be able to process. You'll have 20% less data coming in." And he's like, "I need that fucking data, baby."
Yeah, exactly. I just like, I don't know. This episode really wasn't missing anything. I think it was more interesting in the fact that they were trying to like reinvent the whole thing, reinvent the wheel with the guy having the 3 mediators or the 3 translators. But I feel like the episode could have benefited from them giving more lore and more information about like how he came to be this great mediator, rather than like, maybe that was part of the mystique of like how this guy just shows up and he's just like, hey, I'm gonna do this and I'm pretty good at my job. Peace.
Not to push back on that, but I think that's what they were at least trying to do with Worf at the beginning, when they said that this guy mediated a bunch of treaties between the Federation and the Klingons. So like, just knowing that somebody was able to mediate between the Federations and the Klingons, I think that's what you said. Maybe it didn't come through strong enough, and I can agree with that, but I think that's specifically what they were trying to get across there. And then his own confidence was kind of a turnoff, and I really like that he became humbled And
that's
was
what makes episodes so good, right?
Reva has a very good character arc. So how many chorus members, 1 through 5, do you give this episode?
I would say still 3. Still 3.
Still a 3.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm still pretty in the middle.
I'm going to give it a 4. Because it was a 3.5 for me, but then I watched that effect of those people being vaporized a bunch of times, and I was like, oh, this is a 4 easily. Them turning to red skeletons. I love a red skeleton under any circumstances.
The way they died, though, it also reminded me too of like the Batman show, and where like the Joker had that laughing gas that like quote unquote killed people, but like it left a terrifying smile on their face.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, that's way worse than just getting like shot in the face.
You think so? You think getting killed by the Joker gas and dying by smile is better than getting shot in the face?
No, worse, I think.
Oh, worse. Yeah. Because I guess you don't die right away. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Preferably getting. I'd rather be shot in the face. I'd rather have my head blown off than being Joker gassed. You are correct. Yes, that makes sense. So that was a 3 from Al and a 4 from me for the awesome melting effects. That was our discussion of Loud as a Whisper, which brings us to one final segment in the show. Captain, Adam and Al are recommending things. I repeat, Adam and Al are recommending things. What do you got for us, Al?
Oh, I would just say to watch the new episodes of Abbott.
Oh, I've been watching those with Brittany. They're very good still, yeah.
They've still been very, very funny.
I fell off that show at first because I don't like watching people at work, but now I've been forcing myself to watch it with her because I know it's good. So I'm like, I know this is good, even though it is people at work. I can watch this and laugh.
Yeah, the humor's quick.
Like, yeah, Mr. Johnson is like great.
Boom, 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 boom. Like it's very, if you don't pick up on this one line, it doesn't build, like the punch comes later and all that, and it builds on each other. It's really clever writing.
Yeah, and I think it's a cut above like The American Office and shit like that like kind of became parodies of itself. Yeah,
like, we
once they got
my fiance and I, but they both agree. It's like it's more of like a good ensemble cast. Like you're interested in everybody rather than like, oh, this person's clearly the standout. There's no like Jim and Pam, There's no like Dwight and whatever.
Where The Office lost it, I think, is when they got out of the office. Like when more stuff started happening, like at their houses, or like when they just wasn't. The title of the show is The Fucking Office, but no, I definitely think that Abbott is good, and it certainly has grown on me. For me, this is kind of out of left field, but I covered this film for my other podcast, and this is a movie that when I was a kid, I saw it in theaters. It's a sequel to one of my favorite movies, and I saw it in theaters, and I went, oh, that's really weird. I liked it, I think, but it was weird. And then as I got older, I, for some reason, remembered that it was just bad. And I'm talking about Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
Oh, shit.
And so I just thought Gremlins 2, The New Batch was bad. Like from like, I thought it was good for like a year when I was a kid. And then something happened in my head where I remembered that it was bad. And then I realized that I didn't really remember anything about it. Really, because I thought it took place at Christmas, like the first one did. I thought all this stuff that wasn't true. So we rewatched it, and my buddy Andrew, the co-host of Movies Over My Hammy, he said, "Oh, it's better than the first Gremlins." And I said, "Oh, fuck you, fuck you, dude. That's that dumb, stupid shit with the electric gremlin. You think that's better than the first Gremlins?" So we watched it and we covered it for the podcast, and I am a convert. I don't know that I can say that it's better than the first Gremlins, but it's absolutely as good. And I think that it's the best PG-13 monster movie of all time. Like I can't think of a PG-13 horror movie better than Gremlins.
And I just nice balance in between the two of like scary and
it's so
humor.
Wacky, and all the cast is so fucking great. You got Christopher Lee in there as the genetic scientist. You got those twins, dude. I'm gonna watch it today. Probably. I've watched that movie like 2 or 3 times in the last few weeks because I feel like I'm catching up on 30 years of erroneously thinking it was bad. So I recommend you And it's so meta. Like at one point, and not just the Hulk Hogan telling the gremlins in the projection booth to shut the fuck up. There's a scene that I forgot about where Billy is first describing the gremlins to the people in the control room and nobody believes him.
Yeah.
But they're like having a conversation with him about the rules. Like, but what if it gets something stuck in his teeth at 11 p.m. and then it doesn't go down his throat until 12:01? And Billy's just like, you gotta stop fucking worrying about it. It's like, we're gonna die. And then at the end of that scene, a gremlin jumps up and bites somebody. It's fucking great. So go watch Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Watch Abbott Elementary. And of course, you're going to want to come back here in a week to this very location. The reason I'm stalling is because I'm pulling up what next week's episode is. We will be discussing The Schizoid Man.
Oh,
what the hell kind of title is that?
Good.
The Schizoid Man. It's about a dying antisocial scientist, apparently.
Yes. This one's good.
So come back next week for our discussion of the Schizoid Man. Do all the stuff in the bumper. Help us out. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Come on back.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. Appreciate it.
Peace out. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
151. Trek in the Valley is brought to you by Adam Ordall-Quinnell and Al Hurt. The theme was produced by Al. The episodes are engineered by Adam. You can email the podcast at trekinthevalley@gmail.com, or you can search for us on Blue Sky and Facebook as Trek in the Valley and follow us over there. Please be sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, whatever you do on your podcast apps. It really helps us out. And never forget, always explore strange new fucking worlds.